Back in the 2010s, if you were even remotely interested in goth or alternative fashion on YouTube, chances are you knew exactly who ItsBlackFriday was. The dramatic makeup, the platform boots, the Tim Burton-inspired aesthetic. She wasn't just part of the online goth scene. For a while, she practically was the online goth scene. People loved her, admired her, and many still do to this day. But despite her popularity, she was never completely free from controversy. Throughout the years, small questions and criticisms followed her regarding her relationships, her behavior, and the way she interacted with her audience online. In the past few years, however, these controversies have escalated significantly. Some people are now calling her a fraud after she promised fans a full-fledged Netflix-style documentary exploring the worldwide goth scene, accepting donations to help fund the project, and ultimately failed to deliver. What makes the situation even more controversial is that people claim this is not the first time something like this has happened. Allegedly, early in her career, Freyja launched a fundraiser for an elaborate Tim Burton-style goth wedding that she promised would be live-streamed to supporters. But the wedding never materialized as promised, and the donated money was instead spent on European trips and drunken shopping sprees.
It is very much possible that Freyja did take these funds intended for this live stream wedding and instead used them to travel to Germany and party and relocate and do drunken shop.
More recently, a YouTube creator named Reilly Elaina published a nearly 2-hour-long video detailing Freyja's history of controversies, and it's completely divided the goth community. Some viewers believe the criticism is justified, while others argue that Freyja is being unfairly targeted and subjected to unnecessary hate. Freyja herself has since uploaded a lengthy response addressing Reilly Elaina's claims, and she had quite a lot to say about the allegations being made against her. So in this video, we're going to break down this entire situation, from the earliest accusations to the most recent controversy, and ultimately figure out whether the backlash and scrutiny surrounding ItsBlackFriday are actually justified. Before we get into the controversies, it's important to understand who Freyja actually is and why so many people cared about her in the first place. For those who don't know, Freyja, better known online as ItsBlackFriday, is a goth content creator from New Zealand who is currently 39 years old. She first started uploading to YouTube around 2013, and it didn't take long for people to notice her. At a time when goth content on YouTube was relatively niche, Freyja stood out almost immediately. Her channel initially revolved around goth makeup tutorials, alternative fashion content, and various videos exploring goth culture.
I'm here today to dissolve all mystery, to answer the question. Hello. If you feel like looking like a vampire for no particular reason, or maybe you have a reason, maybe it's Halloween, maybe it's a costume party, maybe you just like vampires, here is an idea for you perhaps.
How can I even describe how exciting this is? I really enjoy community events. Oh look, they're doing things.
Unlike a lot of creators who simply adopted the aesthetic, Freyja came across as someone who genuinely knew what she was talking about. She wasn't just showing off dramatic makeup looks, she was teaching people how to create them themselves. If you go back and look at Reddit discussions from 8 or 10 years ago, you'll find that people were overwhelmingly positive about her content. Many viewers saw her as one of the few creators genuinely helping newcomers get into goth fashion and makeup. Part of the reason people respected her so much was that she also appeared highly skilled and qualified. In one of her videos, Freyja claimed that she had a degree in film production, and she certainly seemed to have the experience to back it up. According to Freyja, she was even approached by Lord at one point, but she sadly missed the opportunity to work with him.
I have a sad confession to make. First of all, let me point out that I make music videos. That's like my little thing that I do. So, a couple of years ago, I received an email asking if I'd be interested in making a music video for up-and-coming artist Lord. Yes, Lord. And I did eventually respond, and I said, oh yeah, I'd be interested. And they got back to me, and they says, oh, that's great, thank you. Lots of other people have already put their hand up and are interested in making the video. And the sad part is that I didn't take it any further than that.
Outside of YouTube, Freyja also had a wide range of creative interests. She designed and made elaborate hats, worked on artistic projects, and frequently spoke about juggling multiple jobs at the same time while building her online presence. And interestingly, YouTube wasn't the only platform where she was building an audience. Around the same time she launched her channel, she was also extremely active on Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook. By maintaining a presence across multiple platforms, she was able to grow a dedicated following that extended far beyond YouTube alone. That strategy worked incredibly well. Her channel experienced strong growth during its early years, and she eventually became one of the most recognizable faces in the online goth community. Today, she's accumulated roughly 694,000 subscribers on YouTube, making her one of the largest goth-focused creators on the platform. As her channel was growing and she was becoming noticeable, she also began interviewing various goth and alternative bands, including members of Permanence, and eventually even landed an interview with Chris Motionless. At this point, she wasn't just a content creator covering the goth scene, she had become an established figure within it. However, there was another aspect of her content that attracted a lot of attention over the years: her personal life. Unlike many creators who kept their relationships private, Freyja was often very open about her romantic life on her channel. Viewers became invested in her relationships, and over time, those relationships would become a major topic of discussion within her community. When she first started YouTube, she was in a relationship with a man known online as Mr. Owl.
Hi,
Hi.
this is the one known as Mr. Owl.
The two frequently appeared in videos together. In 2014, they announced their engagement, and many viewers assumed their relationship would continue to be a straightforward online love story. As we now know, Freyja and Mr. Owl eventually did get married and went on to have 2 children together. But getting to that wedding was anything but simple. Between the engagement and the marriage were breakups, fundraising controversies, and a series of events that would become some of the biggest talking points of Freyja's career. Topics we'll be diving into in the next section. Before we get into some of the juicier controversies, such as the Germany saga or the allegations regarding her parenting, we first need to discuss some of the criticism that emerged from Freyja's earlier content. One of the topics that has recently become a major talking point stems from a video she uploaded on August 7th, 2014, titled DIY Skin Lightening Face and Body Scrub. The creator, Reilly Elaina, who recently published a nearly 2-hour-long video examining Freyja's history of controversies, argued that it was highly problematic for Freyja to create a tutorial centered around skin lightening. According to Reilly, the video carried racial undertones and reinforced harmful beauty standards. She explained that racism has long been a discussion within goth and alternative communities because mainstream representations of goth people are often overwhelmingly pale and white. As a result, some people felt that Freyja's video was unintentionally promoting the idea that lighter skin was more desirable within the subculture, further alienating people of color and reinforcing the perception that goth culture is primarily for white people.
This is a video where she shows us a formula she made that is meant to, of course, lighten your skin tone.
No, it isn't.
Racist undertones here. Promote skin lightening. The racism.
So I am a massive racist.
Now, looking at the title alone, it's easy to understand why some people found the video controversial. What makes the situation even more confusing is that later in her career, Freyja repeatedly spoke out against racism and exclusion within the goth community. On multiple occasions, she reassured viewers that people of all races could participate in alternative fashion and goth culture, and she openly criticized the idea that goth is reserved for a specific skin color.
Okay, so people who are not okay with that are just outright racist. I will never understand that. A few months ago, I could happily say that I had never seen or experienced any of the racism that happens within the subculture, but unfortunately, I have since seen some of it online. Fuck, man, I had to like block someone from my channel for that. That's just stupid, and anyone who says that to you is just being racist. That's it. I guess just because most of the famous icons within the subculture, you know, like the musical artists that started it all, like Susie Sue, or Robert Smith, or Peter Murphy, or Johnny Slut, or whatever, just because all those people are white doesn't mean that's a requirement. Why do people ask me this so often? It's scary. Do you think goths of colour can even be considered respectfully as an official people? Oh, what? What are you saying? An official people of the community. Why would there ever be any doubt? I've said this in a previous Q&A. Anyone who says you can't be goth because you're not white deserves a fucking punch in their stupid face.
She comes across as completely reasonable and empathetic, In fact, throughout her career, Freyja has also spoken openly about the discrimination she personally experienced because of her appearance. For example, during her trip to Paris, she claimed that she and her partner were removed from a popular tourist establishment because of the way she looked. She later discussed the incident on YouTube and social media, speaking at length about how upsetting the experience had been. Because of how she had presented herself on the internet, many people found it strange that a creator who had been so vocal about discrimination and inclusion had previously uploaded a skin lightening tutorial, especially considering that colorism remains a significant social issue. With that being said, people are divided on this controversy as well. Numerous viewers believe that Reilly exaggerated this situation and presented the video in the worst possible light. For instance, several commenters pointed out that Freyja explicitly stated in the original video that she used this scrub to reduce the appearance of freckles and uneven pigmentation. According to this interpretation, she was not encouraging viewers to lighten their overall skin tone, but rather addressing specific cosmetic concerns. In her response video to Reilly, Freyja made a similar argument.
You can better conform to goth and alternative Eurocentric beauty standards.
I have said repeatedly that goth has nothing to do with skin color, that you don't need to be white or pale.
Freyja does trad goth makeup specifically, which involves a completely white foundation.
No, a trad goth look does not require white face paint. I've actually scripted an entire video on the subject that I haven't shot yet, and I have probably said 1,000 times, yes, I'm a ginger, I have a lot of freckles, I do not want them. Here is an old photo of me. Your skin is yours to do whatever you want with. I will do whatever I want with my own pheomelanin, thank you very much. People have melasma, uneven skin tone they want correcting, tan lines. That is a recipe for a nice sugar scrub, with the option of adding lemon and parsley if you want to even out skin tone.
To be fair, her explanation does sound somewhat reasonable. However, the title of the video itself is hard to ignore. Regardless of the intention behind the scrub, she deliberately chose the phrase skin lightening as the centerpiece of the video's title. If the purpose was simply to address freckles, pigmentation, or discoloration, she could have easily described it that way instead. The thing is, skin lightening content isn't some tiny, obscure corner of the internet. Studies analyzing some of the most viewed skin lightening videos on YouTube and TikTok have found that millions of people are exposed to content promoting lighter skin, with the overwhelming majority of these videos focusing on appearance changes, dramatic transformations, and beauty-related results. Simply put, this kind of content gets clicks. Keeping in mind that it is possible that Freyja chose the title for attention rather than because she was trying to promote any racist ideology. And the thing is, this wouldn't be the first time Freyja used a provocative title to attract viewers. For example, she once uploaded a video titled, "I Had a Heart Attack." However, the video itself wasn't about her actually having a heart attack. Instead, she discussed experiencing symptoms that made her believe she might be having one, only to later discover that wasn't the case. So you can probably see the point we're trying to make here. At least during that period of her YouTube career, Freyja wasn't exactly opposed to clickbait-style titles. Because of that, some people believe there's a possibility that the skin lightening title was chosen for shock value. Now, there's another controversy involving racism that we should discuss here. This one centers around an online figure named Violet and dates back to the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, when influencers, celebrities, and public figures across the internet were being encouraged to speak out on racial issues. Because Freyja had previously been vocal about discrimination, racism, and social issues, some people expected her to publicly support the movement as well. According to Freyja, one of the people pressuring her to do so was Violet. What followed was an online feud between the two. According to Freyja, Violet repeatedly harassed and bullied her online. And here's a screenshot of her airing out her frustration at this person. Reilly's position on this situation is fairly straightforward. She argues that goth culture has historically been political and rooted in social commentary. From that perspective, she believes Freyja could have simply voiced support for Black Lives Matter, expressed solidarity with Black people, and avoided the controversy altogether.
Drama with another online personality named Violet Vixen, and my sources claiming that Freyja was refusing to just say Black Lives Matter. If we assume that Violet was just trying to educate her and Freyja claimed that she was being harassed and publicly called out by Violet, Freyja looks at criticism as harassment.
To some observers, this situation appeared confusing. Freyja had even spoken publicly about tragedies such as mosque shootings in the past, yet she seemed reluctant to explicitly say the words Black Lives Matter. That inconsistency raised questions. Another aspect that caught people's attention was Freyja's mother, Karen, who whose social media activity became a subject of discussion. She apparently has some posts on her Facebook account that can be considered pro-Trump, and in some cases racially insensitive. This led people, specifically Reilly, to begin questioning whether Freyja shared similar political or social views behind the scenes. Personally, we think this is where the criticism starts becoming a bit shaky. Judging someone based on their parents' political opinions is generally unfair. Family members can have completely different beliefs, values, worldviews. Unless there's evidence showing that Freyja personally shares those views, it doesn't make much sense to hold her responsible for things her mother has posted online. Likewise, while some people were disappointed that Freyja didn't explicitly say Black Lives Matter, that alone doesn't automatically make her a racist or problematic person. In her recent response video, Freyja elaborated further on her conflict with Violet and claimed that the harassment had been going on for quite some time before the BLM dispute occurred.
I do not look at criticism as harassment. I look at bullying as bullying, and this random chick was bullying me, along with one or two friends of hers. I guess she's a bit like you. She just wanted to take me down for fun or something. She sent me a screenshot of a fake conversation between me and some business or something called Madam. It didn't even sound like me. I think she was the same chick who tried to take down Emily Autumn by proving that she was a racist, which is something that someone can't really prove that they aren't. She couldn't find proof that I'd actually said or done anything racist, so she had to make something up. I know I screenshotted the conversation. God knows where that is now. It was 5 years ago. I've been looking for it. I scrolled through over 5 years of Instagram messages to find that conversation. She's long gone, so it looks like this now. But I told her what I'm about to tell you. Put your hateful energy into attacking someone who is actually a problem. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Duh. I've never felt the need to tell my followers not to be racist because I assume they already know that. I don't need to point out, hey guys, I'm not a racist. I prefer to just go about my life not being one.
If her account is accurate, it's possible that her refusal to engage publicly was influenced less by the movement itself and more by frustration toward a person she felt had been repeatedly antagonizing her. So we feel she's completely justified here. Now let's talk about what is probably one of the most discussed incidents in Freyja's entire online history, the wedding saga involving Mr. Owl. Unlike some of the controversies we've covered so far, which often come down to interpretation and personal opinion, this situation has a lot more substance behind it, and that's where things start becoming considerably harder for Freyja's defenders. As we already mentioned, Freyja and Mr. Owl were engaged during the early years of her YouTube career. At the time, the couple regularly appeared in videos together, and had built up a loyal audience that was heavily invested in their relationship. Naturally, when they announced their plans for a large Gothic wedding, fans were excited. But this wasn't going to be an ordinary wedding. Freyja and Mr. Owl repeatedly told viewers they wanted to create a massive Gothic celebration that would eventually be live-streamed for fans around the world. To help make that happen, they launched crowdfunding campaigns and encouraged viewers to donate toward making the event a reality.
Which they're like $2.50, and what that gets you is when the time comes, you will be emailed a link to watch our wedding live from anywhere in the world, wherever you are, because I don't really want anyone to miss out on it. You guys are important to me, and I want you to be my special guests on what will hopefully be the most special day of my life. It still doesn't have a date yet because obviously we can't afford it, but the thing is that the ticket thing, whatever, that's like a donation that goes towards paying for it. So I guess just every little helps. Weddings are really expensive. Can anyone tell that I'm kind of in the financial poo at the moment? Anyway, bullet 5! Here's some cheerful news. Anyone?
The problem is that things didn't unfold the way people expected. Instead of wedding updates, viewers soon began receiving a completely different set of announcements. At the beginning of 2015, Freyja revealed she'd been offered an opportunity to work as a brand ambassador for one of her favorite clothing companies. According to her, the position would allow her to travel internationally and create new content opportunities outside New Zealand. She explained that she planned to travel to both the United States and the United Kingdom in the coming months for work-related opportunities and channel growth. To help fund the trip, she launched a crowdfunding campaign, first through Kickstarter and later through Indiegogo. At this point, the crowdfunding campaign for the wedding was still active. In other words, Freyja was potentially receiving donations for the promised wedding project while simultaneously asking viewers to financially support an entirely separate international trip. Around May 2015, she uploaded another update informing viewers that she had successfully reached her fundraising goal. More importantly, she reassured supporters that the Gothic wedding she had promised was still happening.
So I don't know how I'm going to deal with being without him for 4 months. For those of you who've bought tickets to the wedding live stream video, probably we're going to get married in September. That's been the plan for a while, September, so hang in there. It's going to be pretty furious and stressful, I'm sure. I'll get off the plane and be like, right, wedding stuff. But yeah, starting right now. Massive adventure.
Unfortunately, things didn't turn out the way Freyja promised. The first unexpected twist occurred during her travels. After visiting the United States, Freyja attempted to enter the United Kingdom. According to her account, she was stopped by border officials because of her appearance, subjected to extensive questioning, placed in a detention facility, and ultimately deported back to New Zealand.
Honestly, I think I was singled out for my appearance. They tried to say that had nothing to do with it, but I don't entirely believe them, because their reasons for doing what they did were complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Like, it's taken me this many days to calm down enough. Like, I'm still devastated. I'm still like, I don't know, I think I cried all my tears out already. I didn't think it was possible to cry for that many hours solidly.
This incident became a major topic on her channel and understandably disrupted many of her plans. However, what happened next would leave many supporters even more confused. Shortly after returning to New Zealand, Freyja announced yet another overseas trip, this time to Germany. There she spent her time doing what she termed drunken shopping sprees. Up until this point, there wasn't anything particularly scandalous about Freyja's behavior. Yes, she had crowdfunded money for her travels, but people who supported her channel chose to contribute voluntarily. At the time, most viewers seemed happy to help her pursue opportunities abroad. The real problems began around August 2015, when Freyja uploaded a video announcing that she and Mr. Owl had officially parted ways. That announcement alone was enough to shock many fans. But it wasn't the only bombshell. She also revealed that she had no plans to return to New Zealand from Germany, intended to stay there permanently, and had already entered a new relationship. To say that viewers were caught off guard would be an understatement.
Hey everybody, I guess I have to make this video to just clear a few things up. Rumor mill keeps turning. That's not a song, but maybe it should be. Anyway, so there have been some truly malicious rumors and theories floating around me lately. Hurtful messages flying around, jealous people trying to hurt me, trying to hurt Mr. Owl, trying to make me look bad, gossipy people just wanting something to bitch about. It started from what suddenly appeared on Facebook and naturally led people to make assumptions, and unfortunately, people love to assume the worst rather than give the benefit of the doubt. We had always known that I wanted to travel and spend time living overseas, and that he was less keen on the idea. We hummed and hawed about possible compromises, but a lot of them weighed on our future financial situation and other variables. Travel is one of the most important things to me. I've always had this unyielding, insatiable wanderlust, and if I can't satisfy it, I just get miserable and trapped. And if you keep up with me, you'll know that a couple of months ago I crowdfunded a trip to Germany and America to meet so many of my lovely YouTube followers in person. I had the time of my life and I couldn't remember being happier. So after I got refused entry to the UK and posted back to New Zealand, I was devastated. Back in New Zealand, I was truly miserable, and some around me could feel the radiating misery vibes. Mr. Owl told me to just go, because he wanted me to find a way to be happy and hoped we could figure out a way to make that happen, whether it involved being with him in my future or not. I couldn't really afford the plane ticket, but I was like, fuck it, and just booked a one-way ticket to Germany, as one does, where I had had so much fun and such a good experience. I had no plans for what I would do once I got there, but that's just how I roll sometimes. I was being spontaneous and seeking adventure and new challenges, and everyone kept telling me to do what was right for me, for myself, and I had to square with the idea that doing so wasn't selfish, because it certainly felt it. We're only on this earth once, and life is short, and denying ourselves happiness to satisfy others, regardless of who those others are, is a bit stupid. Mr. Owl and I had discussed that if I decided not to come back to New Zealand, that there was a real possibility that we would part ways. It was a sad thing to contemplate, and far from an easy decision to make. Probably the hardest decision I've ever made. I had repeated nightmares about being in Wellington, and I would wake up feeling relieved to still be in Germany. He and I didn't want to spend the same amount of time on the same side of the world, and I felt Trying to have a mostly long-distance relationship would have been very lonely for both of us, not to mention very expensive if we wanted to visit each other. So we didn't tell anyone, except close friends and family, that we had split up. Because, really it's no one else's business, and it was a difficult emotional period. We didn't announce anything publicly. Now, what really stirred shit is that I entered a new relationship not too long afterwards. Naturally, going almost straight from one relationship to another looks very suspicious, but it wasn't. It didn't help that I had been friends with this new person for a few months, and so had appeared in a few photos together, tra-la-la. So some people jumped to the conclusion that I must have been secretly seeing this guy for a while and chucked Mr. Owl to be with him. That is definitely not what happened. That is definitely not.
Now, we want to clarify something here. Freyja is obviously free to date whoever she wants. She doesn't owe anyone a relationship, and nobody's obligated to stay with a partner simply because people on the internet like the couple. However, when you build a significant portion of your online brand around your relationship, publicly announce your engagement, and even ask supporters to help fund your wedding, people are naturally going to become emotionally invested. And those same people are naturally going to have questions when, seemingly out of nowhere, the engagement ends and a new relationship begins almost immediately afterward. To many viewers, the timeline looked incredibly strange. Some people speculated that the new relationship had developed unusually quickly after the end of a long-term partnership. Others wondered whether her decision to remain in Germany had influenced the situation. To be clear, there's no definitive proof of that, but at the time, many fans felt that the circumstances raised questions. Another detail that unsettled viewers involved Freyja's comments about her new partner. According to her, he wanted the relationship to be public. Given that Freyja had just come out of a highly visible breakup and was dealing with a significant amount of public attention, some viewers felt that this was concerning.
Nobody did anything wrong. There is no villain in this story. So, as to be expected, this new person, this new guy, was excited to tell the world and insisted on making it Facebook official. And I knew that doing so was a bad idea. Don't tell me I know it was a bad idea. I argued about it, I knew what the reaction would be, but he had doubts about me taking the relationship seriously. I mean, whatever, fair enough. And also my mum told me to go ahead and put it online. I really didn't want to, but I agreed to it.
One person in her comments pointed out how wrong it was for her boyfriend to push her to make the relationship public so soon after a breakup. At the time, those concerns were largely speculative. However, some of the details Freyja would later share about that relationship ended up causing people to revisit those early warning signs, and we'll definitely get into that later, because in hindsight, many viewers believe there were red flags from the very beginning. But for most fans, the biggest question wasn't even the breakup, it was the wedding. The gothic wedding that viewers had been hearing about for months was obviously no longer happening. So what happened to the money? To her credit, Freyja did address the issue. In one of her videos, she stated that she was looking into ways to refund people who had donated toward the wedding project.
To view the live stream, I've been trying to figure out how to refund those. I'm not yet sure if I can, but if not, then I shall definitely find a special way to make it up to you all. And thank you so much to all the kind and supportive people who've sent kind messages. It's a hard situation.
While Freyja said she intended to reimburse donors, it remains unclear how many people, if any, actually received money back. Reilly, in her video, argues that there's a strong possibility that the wedding funds were ultimately absorbed into Freyja's travels. From her perspective, the timing looks suspicious. The wedding was canceled, she was traveling internationally, and she appeared to be documenting shopping trips and nights out in Germany while seemingly having no traditional full-time job. Freyja, however, strongly disputes this narrative created by Reilly. In her recent response video, she stated that she never actually received a significant amount of money for the wedding in the first place.
And Mr. Owl's wedding. It is very much possible that Freyja did take these funds intended for this live stream wedding and instead use them to travel to Germany and party and relocate and do drunken shopping.
She also harps on about the wedding live stream thing.
It cannot be stressed enough that this wedding was very well funded.
I got about $40 from that wedding live stream fundraising thing. That's it. $40. Hardly enough to jump on a plane and spend big on partying. I couldn't refund them because it was a donation.
Now let's discuss another chapter of Freyja's life that began after she decided to remain in Germany following her breakup with Mr. Owl. The person she entered a relationship with was actually an artist named Matthias Witte. Freyja moved in with him in Germany, and before long, he began appearing regularly in her videos. In fact, in a video titled, "I Got Engaged Again," she announced that she and Matthias were officially engaged.
So there have been a few rumors floating around lately that we got engaged. Just to settle the rumors down, I just thought I would make this video quickly to confirm that those rumors are true. Yep, the proof is in the punch. This is my ring. It looks very beautiful, but the price, you will absolutely not believe how much it cost. It probably cost $2 or $3. I'm serious, it's like a cheap ring from China that I got off eBay, and it's a stunt ring until we can... There are going to be a lot of people going, she's just using him to get to stay in the country, or doing it just so I can stay in Germany. Well, that's a load of crap, but I know that kind of thing is probably going to be said by people, but you know...
You're such an evil businesswoman.
Yeah, I'm such a scheming, conniving, evil deviant. I mean, I can get a residence permit to stay here anyway, so obviously that does make it much easier. So whatevs, but yeah, that's happening. So what they do in Germany, weddings are really, really different.
After being engaged for some time, Freyja and Matthias eventually got married in a classic Gothic-style ceremony in Germany. Interestingly enough, the wedding ended up being televised in Germany, exposing them to an even larger audience. Millions of people reportedly watched the broadcast, making it one of the more unusual moments in Freyja's online career.
Zur Ehefrau zu nehmen. So antworten Sie bitte mit Ja.
Yeah.
During this period, her popularity was definitely growing. The combination of her distinctive goth aesthetic, international travel, and highly visible relationship attracted a lot of attention online. Shortly after getting married, Freyja and Matthias also set off on an extended trip around Europe. However, several controversial incidents occurred during those travels. For example, the couple claimed that they were denied entry to multiple locations because of their appearance. One frequently mentioned example was the Bone Church, where they alleged they were not allowed to enter because of the way they looked.
So, it is pretty hard to offend me, given that, you know, when you look a bit weird all the time, people, like, they shout insults at you and stuff all the time. But right now, I'm feeling pretty fucking offended, because we came to the Czech Republic, mainly to go to this place, which just over here is the infamous Bone Church, the Sedlitz Osbury, Kosnice, blah blah. I've been here before 7 years ago, it was fantastic, came back, and they weren't going to let us in. They weren't going to let us in just because of the way we look. No, whatever happened to don't judge a book by its cover? I mean, I don't think I can actually remember being quite so offended. And that has come just after being accosted on the street by the police. By the police, for no reason. Just stopped by the police on the street. Do you have a passport?
According to Freyja, the most upsetting incident of discrimination actually took place in Paris. While visiting both the Louvre Museum and Pichet Cemetery, she claimed that she experienced discrimination based on her appearance. According to her account, while visiting the Louvre, she and Matthias were approached by security guards and told that they could not enter because of the way they were dressed. A similar situation allegedly occurred at Père Lachaise. Freyja claimed that while the couple was filming inside the cemetery, security personnel approached them, instructed them to leave, and even threatened to involve the police. Naturally, Freyja was extremely upset by these experiences. She later uploaded videos to YouTube detailing what had happened and explaining how the incidents affected her emotionally. She also posted a photo of herself crying on Instagram, stating that she'd been denied entry to the Louvre. Similar posts appeared on her Facebook page as well. The response from her audience was immediate. Many of her fans were furious and viewed the incidents as blatant discrimination against alternative people. The controversy quickly spread beyond her audience and eventually attracted mainstream media attention, with several news outlets reporting on her claims. Following the negative publicity, the Louvre contacted Freyja directly. According to her, the museum apologized for the incident and even offered her a VIP tour if they ever returned to Paris in the future. Not everyone on the internet was convinced, however. Some people believed there had to be more to the story. They speculated that Freyja may have violated the museum's dress code or broken some other rule that resulted in her being removed. And to be fair, the Louvre has enforced appearance-related restrictions before. Not too long ago, an Australian influencer also made headlines after claiming she was denied entry because of her outfit. Reilly, for example, alleged that one of her sources claimed Freyja and Matthias were being disruptive inside the Louvre. However, that accusation remains unverified and ventures into speculation. In contrast to what Reilly said, Freyja has also recently presented evidence supporting her version of events. In her response video, she showed documentation suggesting the Louvre's security did, in fact, object to her appearance. She also shared what she says was a message from the museum offering her a VIP tour after the controversy.
Basically, Freyja and Matthias,
It's Matthias, actually.
she and Matthias entered the Louvre. While inside, Freyja was waving a selfie stick around while talking loudly.
This is not what happened. We didn't get into the Louvre at all. We only got as far as the entrance.
Reasonably.
Guy who shakes his head. And he doesn't want to see him go in.
I don't know.
They look a bit. Like what?
Your clothes, your...
What is wrong with my clothes and my hair?
For me, I like it. No, it's not possible to put them in the
And here is the Louvre later offering me a VIP tour to make up for it. The story that I told back then.
So at this point, Reilly really needs a stronger source. When you're creating an exposé about someone, especially one that runs for nearly 2 hours and makes serious allegations, you need to present definitive evidence for the claims you're making. Simply citing an anonymous source and expecting viewers to accept it at face value isn't particularly convincing. And this is something Reilly does several times throughout the video. We'll get into those examples later. For now, though, let's stay focused on Freyja and the criticisms being directed at her. Now, unfortunately, around November 2017, Freyja uploaded a video explaining why she hadn't seemed particularly happy or enthusiastic in her recent content. In the video, she revealed that she and Matthias had actually gotten divorced.
My relationship has recently ended. I know it's very hard to say that and it may be hard to hear that, but it is unfortunately true. It was a mutual decision. It hadn't been going well for a long time. I was sort of tossing up when I should say something, if I should say something, how I should say something, but like I said, I can't put it off any longer. I have to say something. It's been very hard.
At this point, she didn't go into detail about what had happened or why the marriage had ended. She simply informed her audience that the relationship was over. Even without the specifics, though, it's obvious that she was going through an incredibly difficult period in her life. According to Freyja, the German government was canceling her visa, and she only had 30 days to leave the country.
Like I said, it was a jolly good thing that I came to New Zealand when I did at the end of November, because 2 days after I arrived here, I got an email from the German immigration office telling me that they had sent me a letter in October, which they didn't, informing me that I had 30 days to leave the country and that they had cancelled my residence permit. They just suddenly cancelled my residence permit. But I had never received this letter. I swear, never got any letter. I would have noticed a letter coming from them. So 2 days after arriving here in New Zealand, I get an email from the German immigration office telling me that if I'm not already out of Germany, that they will be sending the police around to deport me. They had cancelled my residence permit with no warning. They didn't tell me, they just suddenly did it. And the reason for that is because they knew that Matthias and I had split up. Yeah, so that's shitty. So basically I'm in this weird limbo where I've got this flat in Germany full of furniture and my entire life with my 2 cats and my 2 birds, and I'm not allowed to live there anymore.
Whatever was happening behind the scenes, the situation sounded genuinely tragic. The most heartbreaking aspect of it all was that Germany had become her home. She had built an entire life there. She had an apartment, personal belongings, a career, a social circle, and several pets that she deeply cared about. According to Freyja, she ultimately had to leave behind her pet birds and her cats in Germany under the care of a friend because she simply couldn't take them with her during such a sudden relocation. And surprisingly, this ended up becoming a major point of criticism against her. Reilly in particular argued that Freyja had been irresponsible. She pointed out that Freyja was able to move many of her personal belongings out of Germany and was reportedly even allowed to return for a limited period afterward. Because of that, Reilly questioned why Freyja hadn't made greater efforts to bring her pets back with her as well. The implication was that Freyja had prioritized her possessions over her animals. She also mentioned the passing of one of Freyja's cats, saying that it was very selfish of her to be away from her cat during this time.
So what's going on with the pets?
My pets! You can pause to read this drivel if you want. That is not even close to the truth. It's appalling. When I was away for short periods, I would take the cats to a very nice cattery and the birds to a local vet clinic. But when I had to leave Germany and move out of my flat, obviously that was different. I didn't know if I would be moving to the UK, getting a new German visa, returning to New Zealand, or how long I wouldn't be there. My black rescue cat, Thanatos, was rehomed with my friend Martin, who has been amazing with him. Thanatos is still thriving. The budgies were rehomed with a lady called Amanda. We agreed I'd take them back if I was going to move back to Germany, but otherwise they were hers. Moon, the cat I loved enough to save up thousands of dollars to fly from New Zealand to Germany to be with me. God, I've explained this so many times.
Now, people are divided on this issue as well. While some viewers agreed with Reilly's criticism, many others felt that bringing Moon into the discussion crossed a line. In fact, a number of comments under Reilly's video pushed back against the accusation. One comment in particular stood out. If you were not aware, Australia and New Zealand have very strict quarantine and customs laws surrounding animals. They usually have to spend around 10 days in a quarantine facility when entering the country, which can be extremely stressful for cats, especially those with existing health conditions like Moon may have had. Getting animals out of a country is often much easier than bringing them back in. It's not surprising that she may not have wanted to put Moon through that ordeal. Assuming she chose clothes over her pets feels like a bad faith interpretation of the situation. And honestly, we can understand that perspective. It's easy to judge these situations from the outside, but let's not forget what Freyja was dealing with at the time. She had just gone through a divorce and was losing her legal right to remain in the country. That would be overwhelming for almost everyone. Up until Reilly's video was released, Freyja had never publicly explained in detail what had actually happened between her and Matthias, or why the relationship had ended so suddenly. However, because so many questions were being raised, she eventually decided to tell her side of the story. And according to Freyja, the reality was far darker than viewers had previously understood. In her response, she alleged that Matthias had subjected her to manipulation, emotional abuse, and even physical abuse. She said that the situation was so bad that the police had to be called numerous times.
Raise his fist, make me cry, then laugh at me, gaslight me, bully me about my weight. Every bad day he had was my fault. He was insanely jealous of Barnaby. Every time I was on the phone to someone, he'd say, "Is that your ex? You talking shit about me?" He locked me on the balcony. He would purposely blast music when I needed quiet for filming. He took so much money from me. Like, I paid the flat deposit, he kept that for himself. He had major anger issues. I tried to help him with this. He got on some meds for a bit, and I remember him reading a book called Wut tut gut, but he decided he didn't need this. One Mariluna, he kneed me in the back and I fell on my hands and knees because I wouldn't have sex with him in a public place. I have a snippet of video from that night, which is nothing really, but it's the only evidence I have of what he was like. He forced me to delete it. I made a copy, of course I didn't delete it. The police came 2 or 3 times to our flat for domestic violence reports. Our neighbours called the police after one altercation, and a policewoman told me, "You need to leave him."
Freyja also accused Matthias of being unfaithful during their marriage. To support some of these claims, Freyja shared screenshots that she said showed her confronting a woman with whom Matthias had been involved with.
Nightmare. The primary reason we broke up is because he cheated on me in the bathroom at the gothic pogo party with a girl who was actually in my vlog from that day or the day before. I made friends with her, we added each other on Facebook. No hate towards her, she assumed we must have had an open relationship, but I was still like, yeah, I don't think we can be friends now. It was really weird how I found out. I just had a feeling when I saw him close a messenger window one day. He admitted to wanting to have something on the side with her. He was pretty contrite. I found out later that he flirted with girls, including my friends.
According to Freyja, it was Matthias who eventually informed immigration authorities that their marriage had ended. Because her residency status was dependent on that marriage, she claims that this directly triggered the cancellation of her visa.
So yeah, my 5-year German residence permit was linked to our relationship. Visa-wise, my whole life was now in Germany. If we had stayed legally married for a year or 2 longer, I could have stayed there at least long enough to sort something out. He had started seeing other girls. Like, it would have made no difference to him except that he got to pay less tax. I guess he knew he had that power over me still. He went to the immigration office and told them we'd split up. He admitted to me he did it because he was jealous about Barnaby.
If Freyja's account is accurate, then the collapse of her life in Germany wasn't simply the result of a breakup. It was the result of a marriage ending under extremely painful circumstances, followed by the loss of her legal status in the country, forcing her to leave behind almost everything she had built there. And when viewed through that lens, some of the decisions she made during that chaotic period became a lot easier to understand. Now, sometime around 2019, Freyja was fully back in New Zealand because, of course, her residency permit in Germany had expired. But before that permit officially ended, she actually visited New Zealand for an entirely different reason. And that reason was to surprise Mr. Owl and potentially rekindle their relationship. Around February 2018, she uploaded a video to her YouTube channel showing that she had traveled across the world to see him. Shortly afterward, she uploaded another video in which she spoke candidly about her mental state. She explained that she had been feeling depressed, isolated, and overwhelmed while living alone in Germany. According to Freyja, returning home for a holiday and spending time with her family gave her an opportunity to reconnect with herself and eventually reconcile with Mr. Owl.
I was just doing everything I could to try and sort myself out. One of the things I thought would be a really sensible thing to do would be to surround myself with really familiar stuff, and rather than just being alone, to be around friends and family, tra-la-la-la-la, forth and stuff. I'd never wanted to lose him. Really, as you probably know, the main reason we had to split up was because I wanted to move to Europe and he really didn't. And I was not fond of the idea of long-distance relationships, and our dreams were just too different, and I thought it's just never going to work out. And that was the hardest decision I have ever made. But I've stayed, like I said, I've stayed in contact with him, and anyway, and during that time he had a girlfriend, and I, met Matthias and tra-la-la-la, so we had these sort of separate lives but stayed in touch. Anyway, so not long after Matthias and I split up, he and his girlfriend split up. So yeah, at about Christmas time, we started talking again properly, and having proper conversations. And he was like, well, you're single, I'm single, wanna...
From this point onward, things started moving very quickly for her. During 2018, Freyja also finally got the chance to visit Scotland and the United Kingdom, something that had been a lifelong dream of hers. Ever since being denied entry into the UK years earlier, she'd been trying to obtain the proper visa and return under better circumstances. This time things finally worked out in her favor.
Hey everybody, I am talking at you to you. Anyway, hi. I'm talking to you from my beautiful dorm room that I've been in for several days here in Edinburgh, in Scotland. The trip that I am currently on was planned.
At this point, she even seriously considered relocating to Scotland permanently. However, those plans ultimately never materialized. Once her German residency permit expired, she had little choice but to leave the country, and eventually she settled back in New Zealand. Once back home, she began living with Mr. Owl full-time again. Before long, he started appearing regularly in her videos, just as he had during the early years of her channel. Fans who had followed their relationship from the beginning were thrilled to see them reunited, and eventually, the couple officially got married. For a while, it seemed like things were finally falling into place for Freyja. That said, there were still a few controversies along the way. One of them involved her association with the highly controversial public figure Kat Von D. Around 2018, Freyja uploaded a video showing that she had attended a party hosted by Kat Von D. Now, if you don't know who Kat Von D is, she's been a deeply polarizing figure for years. She's been involved in public feuds with people such as Jeffree Star, faced criticism over anti-vaccination statements she posted online, and has repeatedly been accused of associating with imagery and symbolism that many people found offensive. As a result, a number of celebrities, influencers, and consumers distanced themselves from her brand over the years. Because of that reputation, some viewers were disappointed to see Freyja attending her event and associating with her publicly. Still, compared to some of the larger controversies that would come later, this issue eventually faded into the background. Then came 2021, which was probably one of the biggest years of Freyja's life. That year, she announced that she was pregnant. Later, she gave birth to a daughter, and many viewers were genuinely happy for her. After years of public relationship struggles, moving countries, divorces, visa issues, and personal setbacks, it seemed like she was finally entering a more stable chapter of her life. Then, surprisingly, by September 2022, she announced another pregnancy.
Despite the general advice that one ought to wait at least a year and a half before trying again for another, Mr. Owl and I unfortunately don't have the luxury of time. We are neither of us young, so it's basically now or never. So I wanted to try as soon as possible again after the first go. Maybe it's crazy, but we'll cope. I figure if people can have twins and triplets and survive that, then we can probably cope with one after another. So yeah, I am totally having another baby.
This time, she welcomed a son. By this point, Freyja's life had changed dramatically. Although she was still creating content, her upload schedule became much less consistent than it had been in the past, and honestly, that's understandable. She now has 2 very young children close in age, which is an enormous responsibility. Even though Freyja had previously suggested that having kids wouldn't drastically change her lifestyle, reality seemed to have other plans. Her social media activity began slowing down. Overall, she appeared to be focusing much more on family life than on maintaining her previous level of online presence, perhaps in an effort to make up for that reduced activity, or perhaps she genuinely believed in the project. Freyja announced something major in 2024. This would eventually become one of the biggest controversies of her career. She revealed plans to create an ambitious documentary exploring the worldwide goth scene. Not just a simple YouTube video, but a large-scale, polished, Netflix-style documentary that would document goth culture across different countries and communities. To fund the project, she once again turned to crowdfunding. She launched a campaign and asked supporters to contribute money toward making the documentary a reality. The funding goal was substantial, and supporters were encouraged to help bring the vision to life.
I've been saying for years that I'd like to make a proper, explorative documentary about goths around the world, and thousands of you have said that you'd love to see it. So you know what? I'm gonna do it. For the last 10 years, I've been the world's best known goth YouTuber, where I've taken the audience to festivals, events, underground clubs, markets, opened a window on this mysterious subculture to a large online audience. I've visited and filmed in many different countries, and I observed that everywhere I went, the goths were different. We're going to multiple locations in Europe, the Americas, Asia, Oceania, and Africa. We're going to see what goth looks like all around the world. This film will have a high production value and be of Netflix-worthy quality, ideally ending up somewhere like Netflix or similar. You only know me from YouTube, but I'm actually a fully qualified film school graduate with qualifications in film and TV production, entertaining and illuminating. From all funding sources, we're aiming for 500,000 New Zealand dollars. That's about 300,000 US dollars. This amount reflects the total we would need from all sources to ensure it happens. So corporate sponsors, feel free to get in touch. We're also applying for the very few available arts grants in New Zealand. So whatever doesn't get raised from Indiegogo will be sought from elsewhere, because this documentary really needs to exist.
Almost immediately, some people began questioning whether this project was realistic. Many pointed out that the scope of the documentary seemed enormous, especially considering Freyja's circumstances at the time. From what she presented publicly, it appeared that she was attempting to tackle a massive international documentary largely on her own, which struck some viewers as overly ambitious. Nevertheless, people donated. Reportedly, more than $10,000 has been contributed to the project so far, which is a significant amount of money by any standard. And here's where things become complicated. When you ask your audience to financially support a project, many people believe you also take on a responsibility to keep those supporters informed about how that project is progressing. As months passed and then years passed, some viewers began noticing a lack of substantial updates regarding the documentary. Freyja initially announced that donors would receive access to a Discord community where updates about the project would be shared.
It's done. There's a private Discord for supporters, so if you want to keep up with everything and support the film, help it get made, I've put a wee link below. Just make sure you include your email with your name so I can send you an invite link for the Discord. There are also still limited edition t-shirts available in my wee shop. I'll link that below too.
However, some people later came to Reddit claiming they had donated but never received the promised Discord link. Others alleged that there was very little communication about the project's status. Some even claimed the comments asking about the documentary were being deleted from our platforms. As of today, many people appear genuinely upset with Freyja over the documentary situation. While she has recently uploaded what appears to be a trailer or teaser related to the project, a significant number of viewers remain skeptical. The thing is, it isn't just one person claiming that their comments are being deleted whenever they ask about the documentary or the money they contributed. There are quite a few people making similar complaints. Some former supporters have alleged that comments questioning the status of the documentary disappear shortly after being posted. Others claim that Freyja becomes hostile when the topic is brought up and uses abusive language toward people. Then there's the separate controversy involving our children, which has arguably generated even more backlash than the documentary itself. Apparently, Freyja recently made an international trip while leaving her daughter at home with Mr. Owl during a period when the child was reportedly recovering from throat surgery. At the same time, she allegedly took her young son traveling with her. Some people claim that she traveled without having adequate childcare arrangements in place, and later turned to Facebook groups seeking babysitters while abroad. According to people who claim to have seen the posts before they were deleted, the reaction on Facebook was overwhelmingly negative. Many users were reportedly furious and questioned her judgment. Some Reddit users have even alleged that she eventually left her child under the care of people she had only recently met. While many of Freyja's previous controversies involved interpretation, misunderstandings, or events from years ago, criticism involving kids tends to provoke a much stronger reaction. And that's exactly what seems to have happened here. There are plenty of people who say they defended Freyja through the wedding controversy, the Germany drama, and even the documentary situation. But according to these viewers, the recent allegations surrounding her parenting have pushed them past their limit. To understand the mood surrounding Freyja right now, it helps to look at what some former supporters are saying. I agree she probably didn't mean it, but I feel bad for the people who ultimately paid her for nothing. If memory serves, then people gave her over $10,000. Can't remember the exact currency, but it was certainly thousands. She even originally asked for over $100,000. For the money she did get, she should probably give it back, unless the documentary is still happening. I suspect that money is long gone. She did do some travel and filming, and let's face it, with flights and ticket costs, etc., $10K isn't going to go very far. When I first heard about the documentary, my first thoughts were, yet again, she is getting fans to fund her traveling around the world. But at least this time there will be a documentary at the end of it. She's been grifting fans, making mediocre, inoffensive content to appease sponsors and weaponizing her fan base for years. I will not take hard-earned money and effing dirty delete when it's brought up. She needs to address this issue and refund her fans. Ever wonder how she gets cash to go places? There's your answer. She's a con. Is she goth? Yes, but she gives good goths a terrible name. I regret donating money. She never sent me the link to Discord, despite my paying for that perk. I used to really like her content until she started evading questions on the documentary, neglecting her children, advocating for British royalty, and making slightly racist remarks on working people who can't speak English. I don't know how she hasn't been cancelled, ATP. There is no justification for separating your kids for close to a year, especially when Severin went through a major surgery right around the time she left for WGT, or leaving Montrose with random babysitters and allegedly keeping him out until 1 a.m. I was also present for the live stream where she kept doing shots while Montrose was crying in the background, and people in the chat were literally begging her to go tend to him. If all of this is true, then it becomes really difficult to defend Freyja here. Sure, projects of this scale can take years to complete. Documentaries are complicated. They require research, travel, filming, editing, funding, and countless hours of work behind the scenes. Delays happen all the time, but completely ghosting the people who financially supported the project is another matter entirely. If production is genuinely underway and Freyja is actively working on the documentary, what would be the harm in occasionally sharing a few behind-the-scenes photos and production updates? Most supporters aren't demanding that the documentary be finished overnight. They simply want reassurance that the project they invested in is actually moving forward. And then there's the issue of the deleted comments. If Freyja is truly deleting comments from people asking reasonable questions about their donations, that's definitely not a good look. To be fair, Freyja directly addressed this accusation in a recent response video and denied ever deleting comments related to the documentary. However, there have also been a lot of people claiming the exact opposite.
The people in the Discord know because I told them as I was doing the work.
Deleting comments, which she tends to do when met with criticism.
And I don't delete comments on social media unless they're spamming or being overly inflammatory.
Apart from the documentary situation and the parenting allegations, though, we still don't necessarily see Freyja as some evil mastermind that people are making her out to be. She might be messy or impulsive, but those things don't automatically make someone a bad person. In fact, Freyja herself has admitted as much.
Very regularly, so I know that a lot of people really don't know what the fuck's going on with my chaotic life, so I thought I would elucidate. And I've been criticized for having a chaotic life, but so it is. Really, it's just because I've tried to do things that were hard, and sometimes when you take risks and try to do things that are hard, they go well, and sometimes they don't. I'm here on the Kapiti coast of New Zealand. There's the sea over there. I've always sort of believed that everybody who lives here must just be relaxed all the time, because it's lovely. The tide's out right now, so the beach is looking a wee bit mostly like sand and driftwood and birds. I've been in New Zealand since September 2019 living out of a suitcase. Basically, when my relationship ended over in Germany, I had to leave the country because the visa I was on was done through marriage. Basically, as soon as that was over, and it had to be over, that was it really. So as soon as that was over, so was my time there. The lady at the immigration office had suggested perhaps I try.
I've absolutely made mistakes and done and said stupid things. I've done things I'm ashamed of and embarrassed about. Of course I have. So have you. So has everyone. I'm a normal person living a life. Of course I've done things, or usually in my case, not done things, that mortify me to think of. All I've ever done was the best I could do at the time.
The real question is whether all of that makes her a genuinely vile person, or simply an immature and sometimes irrational human being who repeatedly finds herself in messy situations. Personally, we lean toward the latter, and that brings us to Reilly Elaina's video. While some aspects of Freyja's life absolutely deserve scrutiny, there are also several moments throughout Reilly's exposé where the criticism starts feeling less like accountability and more like speculation. For example, one of the recurring themes in the video is the suggestion that because Freyja's mother has allegedly expressed racist views online, Freyja herself might secretly share those same beliefs. At one point, she even directed criticism towards Freyja because her mother had bullied one of Mr. Owl's former girlfriends years ago. In her response video, Freyja stated that she had no knowledge of some of the incidents when they occurred. She also made it very clear that she does not share her mother's political views and does not agree with many of the things her mother has done online.
So while they were together, she made efforts to look and be a lot less like me. 6. She dumped him right before Christmas. It was Christmas Day that Barnaby contacted me. He came back to me. 7. We were already unofficially back together before I turned up to surprise him. 2 months later, she had moved to the other side of the country. 8. I didn't know until just now that my mum was bullying Bluey online, but this surprises me not at all. My mum would send me photos of Bluey telling me how beautiful she was compared to me. This just in, my mum's a bitch. 9. Please leave Bluey in peace. We have all long since moved on with our lives.
The choice to represent Kat Von D, I think, was...
Apart from this, there have also been several claims that came from an anonymous source. There was no hard evidence backing many of them up, yet Reilly kept relying on this source throughout the video. And one of the most bizarre parts of the entire situation was the threat she initially gave to Freyja. It came across as incredibly odd, to say the least.
Listen to me very closely. If you attempt to get this video taken down, not only will you bring even more attention to it,
but I will never stop talking about it.
I will make multiple follow-up videos and I will monetize the hell out of it. Do not do something stupid. It will not bode well for you. I can promise you that.
So after covering everything, our conclusion's pretty simple. Freyja is definitely messy. Her life has been full of risky decisions, questionable choices, and confusing twists and turns. But Reilly Elaina's video painted her as if she were some kind of monster, and we just don't agree with that characterization. Some issues, such as the documentary and the more recent allegations, absolutely need to be addressed by Freyja, because her supporters and community deserve answers. At the same time, it's worth acknowledging that she did eventually upload a response video and attempted to clarify many of the accusations being made against her. As we mentioned throughout this video, the internet remains heavily divided on Freyja. While some people are firmly against her, many others have come to her defense. In fact, after Reilly's video was released, a significant amount of backlash ended up being directed toward Reilly herself. At this point, Reilly has rather suspiciously put the video on private. One thing this entire situation highlights is how important it is for commentary creators to thoroughly verify the information they present. When you have an audience of thousands or even millions, your words carry weight. It's completely fair to criticize public figures, but accusations should be backed by solid evidence, rather than assumptions or anonymous claims. Otherwise, legitimate criticism can quickly turn into misinformation or outright slander. So what do you guys think? Is Freyja simply a chaotic character who's made a lot of mistakes, or do you think the criticism against her is justified? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more internet drama, creator controversies, and deep dive investigations.